Message arrived on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. Admiral Park was drinking her coffee when the communication officer ran into her quarters with a pale face and shaking hands. She took the data pad from him and read the words 3 times before she believed them. The Galactic Council had summoned humanity to appear before them. After 50 years of limited contact with alien traders, Earth had finally been noticed by the powers that ruled the stars. Set down her coffee and looked out the window at the blue planet below. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. She had studied every species, learned their languages, memorized their weaknesses, and now the time had come. The message was simple but clear. Earth must send a representative to the council chambers on Prime. There, humanity would discuss its future in the galaxy. The council used polite words but understood the truth behind them. This was not an invitation, it was a command. She called Captain to her office within the hour. He was young, only 32 years old, but he had more experience with alien diplomacy than anyone else in the fleet. He had spent 5 years on trading missions, learning how aliens thought and what they feared. Saluted and stood at attention. His eyes were calm, but could see the tension in his shoulders. "You have read the message," he said. It was not a question. "Yes, Admiral. The Council wants to put us under protectorate status." Not slowly. Protectorate status meant that Earth would become property of the Council. Humans would lose their freedom. Their resources would belong to alien empires. Their people would serve alien masters. "Intelligence reports say the Empire has been pushing for this," continued. "They want our solar system. They want our planet." "They want our water," corrected him. "Earth has more liquid water than any planet they have ever found. To them, we are sitting on an ocean of treasure." She walked to her desk and pulled up a holographic map of the galaxy. The Council controlled over 2,000 star systems. The Empire alone had 300 worlds under their rule. And Earth? Earth had one small planet and a few research stations on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. On paper, humanity was nothing. A tiny civilization that had only discovered faster-than-light travel 80 years ago. The galaxy had been watching them since then, and they had seen only cargo ships and trading vessels. Simple humans buying and selling goods. Harmless creatures from a small blue world. That was exactly what Earth wanted them to see. "We will go to Prime," said. "One ship, a small diplomatic vessel, we will give them what they expect." Frowned. "Admiral, if we show up with one ship, they will think we are weak. They will think we are afraid." Good. Smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Let them think that. Let them believe we are the helpless newcomers they have always assumed we were." She handed him a sealed folder. Inside were orders from Earth's highest military command. Orders that had been prepared 20 years ago, waiting for this exact moment. "If diplomacy fails," said, "you will send the signal, and then the galaxy will learn the truth about humanity." Opened the folder and read the contents. His eyes went wide. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he looked up at his admiral with something new in his expression. It might have been hope, it might have been fear, perhaps it was both. "I understand," he said quietly. 3 days later, the diplomatic vessel Horizon left Earth's orbit. It was a small ship, designed for comfort rather than combat. It had no visible weapons. Its shields were basic. To any scanner in the galaxy, it looked exactly like what it was supposed to look like, a peaceful ship carrying peaceful diplomats. But on the bridge as they entered faster-than-light travel. The stars stretched into long lines of light, and then they were gone, racing through the space between stars faster than light itself. The journey to Prime took 6 days. During that time, reviewed everything she knew about the Council. There were 12 species represented, but only 5 held real power. They were the oldest, their civilization stretching back over 100,000 years. They believed they had the right to rule because they had existed the longest. Were the strongest militarily. They had conquered dozens of species and forced them into slavery. They respected only power and saw mercy as weakness. There were peaceful scientists who stayed neutral in most conflicts. There were traders who cared only about profit, and there were hunters who saw other species as either predators or prey. None of them respected humanity. To them, humans were children playing at civilization, soft creatures from a gentle world who had never faced real hardship. They had no idea how wrong they were. Earth was not a gentle world. It was a planet of earthquakes and volcanoes, of hurricanes and floods. Humans had survived ice ages and plagues. They had fought countless wars against each other and somehow survived them all. They were not soft. They were survivors. But the galaxy did not know this, and intended to use their ignorance against them. Horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Prime. The station was enormous, an artificial world floating in the void between stars. Thousands of ships moved around it like insects around a hive. Looked at the scanner readings and shook his head. "I count over 300 warships in this system alone. They have brought their battle fleet." "They want to intimidate us," said. "They want us to see their power and submit before we even enter the council chambers." "Will it work?" Watch the alien ships on the screen. Each one was massive, bristling with weapons. Any single ship could destroy the Horizon in seconds. "No," she said, "it will not work." They docked at the station and were met by guards. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin and large black eyes. They looked at the human delegation with barely hidden contempt. "You are the representatives from Earth?" the lead guard asked. "I am Admiral Park. This is Captain and Ambassador Shin." The guard looked at their small group, only 15 humans in total, and made a sound that might have been laughter. "The council expected more, but perhaps this is all your species could afford to send." Smiled politely. "We did not wish to impose. Earth is a humble world." They were led through long corridors to the Grand Assembly Hall. The doors were 20 meters tall, carved with images of alien victories and conquests. Studied them as she walked. She memorized every face, every symbol. Knowledge was power, and she intended to use every advantage she could find. The doors opened, and they stepped inside. The Grand Assembly Hall was vast. Thousands of aliens filled the viewing galleries, representatives from every species in the council. At the center of the room, the 12 council leaders sat on elevated platforms, looking down at the humans like gods examining insects. High Speaker of the rose to his feet. He was ancient, his gray skin wrinkled and spotted with age, but his eyes were sharp and cold. Humans of Earth, he announced, his voice echoing through the hall. You have been summoned to answer for your place in the galaxy. You will listen, you will obey, and you will accept the protection of this council. From the galleries, heard laughter. Hundreds of aliens laughing at the small group of humans standing alone in the center of the massive hall. She stood straight and kept her face calm. Let them laugh, she thought. Let them believe we are weak. They would learn the truth soon enough. Laughter continued for a long time. Ambassador Shin stood beside Admiral and counted the seconds. 15, 20, 30 seconds of aliens laughing at humanity. She was not angry, she had expected this. In fact, she had hoped for it. She was 53 years old and had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment. She had learned 7 alien languages. She had studied the history of every major species in the galaxy. She knew their customs, their fears, their weaknesses, and she knew exactly how to use words as weapons. When the laughter finally stopped, High Speaker raised his hand for silence. Stand before the greatest powers in the galaxy, he said. For 50 years, we have watched your species. We have seen your cargo ships crawling between stars. We have seen your primitive stations and your simple technology, and we have decided that Earth requires protection. And from what? Asked. Her voice was calm and clear. Looked surprised that she had spoken. Council protocol demanded that some species remain silent until given permission to speak, but had not come here to follow their rules. Protection from the dangers of the galaxy, said slowly. There are threats beyond your understanding, wars that would destroy your world in days. Your species is young and weak. You need guidance. And who would provide the guidance? Asked the Council. Of course. And what would Earth give in return for the protection? The question hung in the air, exchanged glances with the other Council leaders. Finally, a massive figure rose from one of the platforms, Warlord of the Empire. It was nearly 3 meters tall, with red-scaled skin and 4 muscular arms. His eyes were yellow with black slits, like a predator examining prey. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rough. Earth will give what all protected species give, said. Resources, labor, loyalty. Your planet is rich with water and minerals. Your people are numerous. You would serve the Council, and in return you would be allowed to survive. Not slowly, so we would become slaves. You would become protected citizens of the galactic community. With no voice on the Council, no right to refuse orders, no freedom to choose our own path. Mild, showing rows of sharp teeth. Freedom is a luxury for the strong. Your species is not strong. You have no warships, no weapons that could threaten even the smallest council member. You are soft creatures from a gentle world. He stepped forward on his platform, looking down at the humans with contempt. I have studied your planet, he continued. Your gravity is light. Your atmosphere is thick and comfortable. You have abundant food and water. You have never known true hardship. You have never faced extinction. Admiral almost laughed. If only he knew. Earth had faced 5 mass extinction events. Humanity had survived ice ages, volcanic winters, and countless wars. They had nearly destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons, and they had clawed their way back every single time. But she said nothing, let him believe his lies. The Empire has generously agreed to oversee Earth's transition to protectorate status, announced. Warlord will personally ensure that your plan is properly integrated into galactic society. Turned to look at, the Admiral gave a tiny nod. May I ask the Council a question? Said. Waved his hand impatiently. Speak. On what evidence do you base your assessment of Earth weakness? The question caused murmurs in the galleries, frowned. Our observers have watched your species for 50 years. We have scanned your ships, studied your technology, analyzed your civilization. The evidence is overwhelming. Your observers watched our cargo ships, said. Our trading vessel, the ship we designed for commerce and exploration. Did your observers ever consider that we might have other ships, ships that we chose not to show you? The murmurs grew louder, laughed. A bluff, he said. A desperate lie from a desperate species. If you had weapons, you would have shown them. You would have used them to demand respect. The fact that you come here with one small ship proves that you have nothing else. Or it proves that we are not fools, replied. When you first make contact with unknown civilizations, do you show them your full military strength? Do you reveal all your secrets? Smile faded slightly. For 50 years we watched you as carefully as you watched us, continued. We learned your languages, we studied your history, we mapped your territories, and we made our plans. Plans leaned forward. What plans? Plans for exactly this moment. We knew you would eventually sun us. We knew you would try to claim our world, and we prepared. From the galleries a voice shouted, She is lying, the humans have nothing. The voices joined in agreement. The noise grew until it had to demand silence. If you have military power, said, then show it. Bring your fleet. Let us see these secret weapons you claim to have. Looked at the warlord with calm eyes. Are you certain you want that? I'm certain that you are bluffing. Your species knows nothing of war. You are merchants and farmers playing at diplomacy. When the fleet arrives at your world, you will beg for mercy. Your fleet is already moving toward Earth. Nodded proudly. 300 warships launched yesterday. They will reach your system in 4 days. By then, your council hearing will be over and your fate will be sealed. The galleries erupted in cheers. They had acted without waiting for council approval, but no one seemed to care. Earth was weak. Earth was helpless. Earth would fall. Admiral stepped forward for the first time. Her voice was quiet, but somehow it cut through the noise. High Speaker, I request a recess of 2 hours. Earth must consider its option. Looked amused. You may have your recess. Use the time to accept reality. When we reconvene, you will formally submit to protectorate status, or you will face the consequences. Understood, said. Humans were escorted to a small waiting room. The door closed behind them, and Captain immediately swept the room for listening devices. He found 3 and disabled them. "They are not even trying to hide their surveillance," he said. "They do not respect us enough to be careful," replied. She turned to, "You did well." Shook her head. "I bought us time, nothing more, is not bluffing. His fleet really is heading for Earth." "I know." Pulled a small device from her pocket. It looked like an ordinary communication pad, but inside was technology that even the Council had never seen. "That is why we need to send the signal now." "If we do this, there is no going back," said. "The galaxy will know what we are. They will fear us. They may even try to destroy us before we become too powerful." Looked at her officers. These were the people she had trained for 20 years, the people she trusted with her life and the life of every human on Earth. "They already want to destroy us," she said. "They just want to do it slowly, through slavery and control. At least this way we fight back." Activated the device and entered a code that only 4 people in the galaxy knew. The signal would travel through hidden relay stations scattered across the stars. It would reach Earth in less than an hour. And then everything would change. "Signal sent," she said. "Now we wait." Look out the small window at the alien ships surrounding the station. What happens when the Council learned the truth? Allowed herself a small smile. They learned that humanity is not prey. We never were. 2 hours later, they returned to the Grand Assembly Hall. The Council leaders were waiting, confident and smug, was already celebrating his victory. "Have the human made their decision?" asked. "Step forward, we have." "And?" She smiled. "We already have." Frowned. "What does that mean?" Before could answer, a aide rushed into the chamber. His face was pale with shock. He ran to Elder, one of the ancient observers, and whispered something in his ear. Black eyes went wide. He stood slowly, his ancient body trembling. "High Speaker," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You need to see this, now." The signal reached Earth in 47 minutes. It traveled through hidden relay stations that the Council had never detected, bouncing from asteroid to moon to satellite until it arrived at its final destination. Fleet Commander was waiting for it. He stood in the command center of Station Omega, a military base hidden inside a hollowed asteroid near Saturn. The station did not exist on any map. No alien scanner had ever found it. For 30 years, it had been humanity's greatest secret. Lieutenant Hen looked up from his console. "Commander, the signal has arrived." Code. Closed her eyes for a moment. She had trained for this day her entire career. She had hoped it would never come, but she had always known it would. "Activate the awakening protocol," she said. Fingers moved across his console. Throughout the solar system, hidden systems began to wake up. Computers that had been sleeping for decades powered on. Reactors that had been cold began to heat. And ships, hundreds of ships, started their engines for the first time. The awakening had begun. 20 years ago, Earth's leaders had made a decision. They had looked at the galaxy and seen the truth. Alien empires conquered the weak. They enslaved species who could not defend themselves, and they were already watching Earth with hungry eyes. So humanity had prepared, in secret. The trading ships and cargo vessels that traveled between stars were real, but they were only part of the truth. Behind them, hidden from alien scanners, Earth had been building a war fleet. Technology came from many sources. Crashed alien vessels recovered from remote planets, designs stolen by human spies on trading missions, and human innovation, the creativity and determination that had always been humanity's greatest strength. For 30 years, shipyards hidden in asteroids had been working day and night. Factories beneath the ice of Europa produced weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Research stations on the dark side of the moon developed shields and engines that broke every rule the aliens thought they knew. And now it was time to reveal the truth. Watched on her display as ship after ship came online. From the asteroid belt, carriers emerged from hidden docks. From the moons of Jupiter, destroyers launched in space. From deep inside Saturn's rings, where no scanner could penetrate the ice and rock, battleships awakened from their long sleep. "Fleet status?" he asked. Voice shook slightly. 847 vessels online, all systems operational, weapons charged, shields active. 847. The number seemed impossible. The Council believed Earth had no warships at all. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Commander," another officer said, "we have detected the fleet. They are approaching Mars." Nodded. This was expected. They had sent 300 ships to conquer Earth. They thought they were attacking a helpless world. "How long until they reach Earth?" "At their current speed, approximately 72 hours. "They will never reach Earth," turned to face her officers. "All ships form up at Rally Point Alpha. We move in 1 hour." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden fleet began to gather. From every direction, ships converged on a single point in space, just beyond the orbit of Mars. The scouting party was the first to see them. A small group of 5 ships had been sent ahead of the main fleet. They were scanning the system, looking for defenses, preparing the way for conquest. What they found instead was a wall of steel and light. The lead scout captain stared at his sensor display in disbelief. He counted once, then twice, then 3 times. The numbers did not change. "This is impossible," he whispered. His communications officer looked at him with fear in her eyes. "Captain, what do we do?" Captain watched as more human ships appeared, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Carriers twice the size of his own vessel, destroyers bristling with weapons he did not recognize, and at the center of the formation, a massive command ship unlike anything he had ever seen. "Send a message to the main fleet," he said. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them everything." The message left the scout ship at the speed of light. It raced across the void of space, carrying images and sensor data that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. On Prime, Elder received the transmission. He was one of the oldest living, over 900 years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched countless species discover space travel, only to be crushed by more powerful civilizations. He had never seen anything like this. Holographic display showed him the human fleet in perfect detail. He counted the ships, he analyzed their weapons, he studied their formation, and with each passing second his fear grew deeper. This is not possible, he said to himself. They should not have the technology, they should not have the many ships. But the evidence was undeniable. The humans had been hiding their true strength for decades. They had fooled the entire galaxy. They had fooled him. It had been one of the voices calling for Earth conquest. He had told the Council that humans were weak, primitive, harmless. He had supported the claim to Earth's solar system. He had made a terrible mistake. The aide beside him was trembling. Elder, what should we do? Stood slowly, his ancient bones protesting the movement. We must tell the Council, immediately. But the hearing is still in session. The humans are waiting for. The hearing no longer matters. Voice was sharp. Everything has changed. The galaxy has changed. He walked toward the Grand Assembly Hall as fast as his old body could move. Behind him, the holographic display continued to show the human fleet. Ships were still arriving, emerging from hiding places throughout Earth's solar system. 800, 850, 870. The numbers kept climbing. Back at Station Omega, Commander gave her final orders. The Council summoned our leaders to Prime, he said to her fleet. They expected us to beg for protection. They expected us to submit. Instead, we will show them the truth. She paused, looking at the faces of her officers. These were the men and women who had worked in secret for decades, who had built these ships with their own hands, who had sacrificed everything to protect their home. Today we reveal ourselves to the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as destroyers, but as a species that will not be controlled, a species that fights for its freedom. The fleet moved as one, turning toward the coordinates of Prime, engines powered up, faster-than-light drives activated. Remember said, we are not here to start a war, we are here to end one before it begins. We show our strength so that we never have to use it. The fleet vanished into the void between stars, leaving behind a solar system that was no longer defenseless. On Prime, Elder burst into the Grand Assembly Hall. The entire council turned to look at him. High Speaker was speaking, but interrupted without apology. You need to see this now. He activated the central display. The holographic image filled the chamber, hundreds of human warships, arranged in perfect formation, weapons glowing with power. Laughter died, the celebration ended. Every alien in the chamber stared at the display in stunned silence. Admiral Park watched their faces change. She watched their confidence crumble. She watched fear replace contempt. And she smiled. Did you think, she said quietly, that we were the only ones hiding our true nature? No one answered, no one could. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. The Grand Assembly Hall had never been so silent. Thousands of aliens stared at the holographic display, watching human warships fill the void of space near Prime. The ships appeared one by one, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 10 ships, then 50, then 100. High Speaker gripped the arms of his chair. His gray skin had turned pale. His large black eyes were wide with disbelief. This cannot be real, he whispered. This must be a trick. Admiral Park stood at the center of the chamber, watching the display with calm satisfaction. I assure you, High Speaker, it is very real. Every ship you see is armed, fueled, and crewed by trained soldiers of Earth. The counter on the display kept climbing. 200 ships, 300, 400. Warlord pushed himself to his feet. His red-scaled skin was flushed with anger, but underneath the anger was something else. Something he had not felt in a very long time. Fear? How is this possible? He demanded. Our observers watched your system for 50 years. They found nothing. Your observers found what we wanted them to find, replied. Cargo ships, trading vessels, peaceful stations. We showed you a mask and you believed it was our true face. The display showed 500 ships now, then 600. They arranged themselves in layers, carriers protected by rings of destroyers, battleships forming the outer edges of the formation. You lied to us, said. We protected ourselves, Ambassador Shin corrected him. When a predator looks at you, you do not show your claws, you hide them, you wait, and when the predator attacks, you strike. 4 arms clenched into fists. The Empire does not fear human tricks. Our fleet is already approaching your system. 300 warships. Your fleet has been detected, interrupted, and it will be dealt with. At that moment, an officer rushed into the chamber. He was breathing hard, his yellow eyes wild with panic. Warlord, our scouts report contact with the human fleet. They are moving to intercept our attack force. Turned to the officer. How many human ships? The officer hesitated. His voice shook when he answered. Over 800, my lord. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. 800 human warships against 300 vessels. The math was simple. The outcome was obvious. Order the fleet to engage, commanded. My lord, they are requesting permission to retreat. I said engage, a voice echoed through the chamber. They do not retreat. We will crush these humans as we have crushed every species that dare to challenge us. Admiral shook her head slowly. I would advise against that, warlord. Our ships are faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything in your fleet. If you force this fight, your people will die for nothing. I do not take advice from prey. You are not prey, his voice hardened. We never were, and today you will learn that lesson. He touched her communication device. Commander, engage the fleet. Disable their ships. Do not destroy them unless necessary. From across the galaxy, Commander's voice replied. Understood, Admiral. Beginning engagement now. Holographic display shifted, showing a view of the battlefield near Mars. The fleet had formed a defensive line, 300 warships bristling with weapons. They looked powerful. They looked dangerous. They looked like they expected to win. The human fleet moved with precision that the aliens had never seen. Squadrons of destroyers swept around the flanks. Carriers launched fighters that moved too fast for enemy centers to track. And at the center of the formation, the great battleships advanced in a wall of steel and fire. First shots were fired by the Energy beams lanced out toward the human ships, weapons designed to cut through any shield in the galaxy. The beam struck the human shields and disappeared. Fired again and again. Nothing penetrated. The human shields absorbed every attack, glowing bright for a moment and then fading back to normal. Impossible breath, those shields should not exist. They did not exist, said, until we invented them. Human scientists working in secret for 30 years. They analyzed every weapon in the galaxy and built defenses against all of them. The human fleet returned fire. The attacks were circle precise. Beams of energy struck specific points on the ship's engine rooms, weapon systems, communication arrays. Each shot disabled without destroying. Each attack was calculated to stop the enemy ship without killing its crew. One by one, the warships went dark. Their engines failed. Their weapons powered down. They drifted in space, helpless but alive. The battle lasted exactly 4 minutes. When it was over, all 300 ships had been disabled. Not a single one had been destroyed. Not a single alien had been killed. The Grand Assembly Hall was silent. Every alien in the chamber stared at the display in shock. They had just watched the most powerful military in the galaxy defeated in less time than it took to eat a meal. Captain stepped forward. Commander reports that all ships have been disabled. 0 casualties on both sides. The battle is over. You did not kill them, Counselor of the said slowly. The peaceful alien had been silent throughout the hearing, but now he looked at the humans with something new in his eyes. Not fear, wonder. No, said, we did not. Why? Turn to face the representative. Because we are not monsters. We do not kill when we do not have to. We showed our strength today, but strength without mercy is just cruelty. We wanted to prove a point, not commit murder. The point being, High Speaker asked weakly. The point being that Earth is not weak. We are not prey. We are not slaves, and we will never submit to your counsel. He looked round the chamber at the thousands of stunned faces. We could have destroyed those ships. We could have killed every soldier aboard them. Our weapons are powerful enough to destroy the station if we wished, but that is not who we are. Ambassador stepped forward. Humanity does not want war. We want peace. We want to trade, to explore, to learn from other species, but we will not be controlled. We will not be conquered, and we will not be anyone's slaves. Standing frozen, his eyes fixed on the display showing his defeated fleet, his 4 arms hung limp at his sides. His proud posture had crumbled. You made me believe we were attacking a defenseless world, he said quietly. You made me send my fleet to die. Your fleet is not dead, reminded him. They are disabled. In a few hours, repair ships will restore their systems. They will return home with wounded pride but intact bodies. Why spare them? Because dead soldiers cannot learn from their mistakes. Walked toward the warlord, stopping just a few meters away. She had to look up to meet his eyes, but she did not seem small. She seemed like a giant standing before a child. You thought we were weak because we hid our strength, but hiding strength is not weakness. It is wisdom. We showed you a face that made you underestimate us, and you walked into our trap. She paused. Hey, we taught you that lesson with mercy. If you force us to teach it again, we will not be so kind. The threat hung in the air, clear and cold. Looked at the hewn woman before him. For the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to be prey. What do you want? He asked. Smiled. Now, let us discuss Earth's place in the galaxy as equal. A week had passed since the battle. 1 week since the galaxy learned the truth about humanity, and nothing would ever be the same. The Grand Assembly Hall was filled again, but the atmosphere had completely changed. There was no laughter now, no contempt, only careful respect and quiet fear. Admiral Park sat at a table in the center of the chamber, with Ambassador Shin on her left and Captain on her right. Behind them stood a delegation of 50 humans, scientists, diplomats, military officers. For the first time, Earth was being treated as a real power. High Speaker stood at his elevated platform, but he no longer looked down at the humans with superiority. His ancient eyes held something new, uncertainty. This council has spent the past week in emergency session, he announced. We have reviewed the events of the battle. We have analyzed human technology. We have discussed the future of galactic relations. He paused, choosing his words carefully. We have made mistakes. This council assumed that a young species must be weak. We assumed that hiding strength meant having none. We were wrong. Murmurs rippled through the galleries. It was rare for the council to admit error. For some species, it had never happened in their lifetimes. The proposal to place Earth under protectorate status has been withdrawn, continued. Furthermore, the Empire has agreed to pay reparations for their unprovoked military action against human territory. Warlord stood in chains at the side of the chamber. His proud posture was gone. His eyes were fixed on the floor. He had been arrested by his own people after the defeat, blamed for the humiliation of the fleet. The warlord will face trial for his crimes, said. Not just against humanity, but against the other species his empire has conquered over the centuries. The council has decided that it is time to examine the actions of all our members more carefully. Counselor of the rose to speak. The peaceful scientist had been quiet throughout most of the crisis, but now his voice carried across the chamber. I wish to make a formal proposal, he said. Earth has proven itself capable of defending its territory. Earth has shown mercy to its enemies. Earth has demonstrated wisdom, patience, and strength. Therefore, I propose that Earth be granted full membership in the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted in noise. Some species shouted in agreement. Others protested loudly. The debate continued for several minutes before restored order. The proposal is noted, he said. All council members will vote on the matter. One by one, the 12 species cast their votes. The voted yes, though looked uncomfortable doing so. The voted yes enthusiastically. The traders voted yes, seeing opportunities for profit. The hunters voted yes, respecting strength wherever they found it. And species that had supported the changed their positions. In the end, the vote was unanimous. Earth was now a full member of the Galactic Council. Ambassador stood to address the chamber. She had spent decades preparing for this moment, and she chose her words with care. Earth accepts membership in the Council, he said, but we have conditions. Frowned conditions. First, Earth will have equal voice in all Council decisions. We will not be a junior partner, spoken down to and ignored. Agreed. Second, Earth proposes mutual defense treaties with all species that wish them. An attack on any member will be considered an attack on all. Murmurs of surprise filled the chamber. Mutual defense was a concept the Council had discussed before, but never implemented. The strongest species had always preferred to handle their own security. This is unusual, said. It is necessary, he replied. The galaxy is full of threats. Alone, each species is vulnerable. Together, we are strong. Humanity learned this lesson long ago. Nodded eagerly. To support the proposal. For too long, peaceful species have been prey for aggressive empires. Mutual defense would change everything. The species began to voice their support. The idea spread through the chamber like fire. Third, continued, Earth demands the release of all species currently held under protectorate status. Every conquered world will be given the choice, freedom or continued membership in their current arrangement. No species will be forced to remain under the control of another. This caused even more noise. Several empires had built their power on protectorate species. Releasing them would change the balance of power in the galaxy. But no one spoke against the proposal. After what they had seen humanity do to the fleet, no one wanted to be the next target. The Council will consider these conditions, said carefully. We will vote on them individually. For the next 3 days, the Council debated each proposal. In the end, all 3 were accepted. The galaxy was transforming, and humanity was leading the change. On the final day of negotiations, Admiral met privately with Elder. The Ancient had requested the meeting himself. He sat in a small room overlooking the stars. Black eyes studied the human woman with curiosity and respect. I must ask you something, he said, something I do not understand. Ask who? Why did you hide? For 50 years, your species pretended to be weak. You let us mock you. You let us plan your conquest. Why not reveal your strength from the beginning? He considered the question for a long moment. You know what Earth was like before we discovered space travel? She asked. I have studied your history. Your species was divided into many nations. You fought wars against each other. We did, terrible wars. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We came close to using them more than once. Nodded slowly. He had seen similar patterns in other species. We learned something from those wars, continued. We learned that power shown is power that must be used. If you reveal your weapons, your enemies will try to match them. They will attack before you grow too strong. Strength creates fear, and fear creates conflict. So you hid your strength to prevent war. Hid our strength to make war unnecessary. We hoped that the galaxy would leave us alone. We hoped that we could grow and develop in peace. But the Council did not leave you alone. No, you summoned us. You tried to conquer us. You forced us to reveal what we had built. Looked out at the stars. We did not want this fight. We prepared for it, but we never wanted it. It was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke again. Your species is strange, Admiral. You are peaceful but prepare for war. You are merciful but capable of great destruction. You hide your strength but do not hesitate to use it when needed. We are human, said simply. We are complicated. Yes, almost smiled. You are very complicated indeed. 3 months later, returned to Earth. Her ship approached the blue planet, passing through the system that was now protected by the largest fleet in the galaxy. She stood on the bridge, watching her home grow larger in the viewport. Behind her, Captain was reviewing reports from the new Council embassy that would soon be built in Geneva. The galaxy is changing, said. Species that were enemies for centuries are now talking about cooperation. Empires that conquered their neighbors are releasing their protectorates, all because of what we did. All because of what we showed them was possible, corrected. We did not change the galaxy. We showed them that change was possible. They did the rest. On the surface of Earth, a young girl was asking her mother about the stars. She had seen the news reports about the Council, about the human fleet that had shocked the galaxy. Are the humans strong? The girl asked in her alien language, thousands of light years away. Her mother looked up at the night sky, at the distant point of light where Earth's sun burned. They are the quiet ones, she said. They watch, they wait, and when they move, the galaxy remembers why. The girl thought about this for a moment. Will they hurt us? No, little one. They showed mercy to their enemies. They freed species that were slaves. They protect the weak instead of conquering them. Then why does the galaxy remember? The mother smiled. Because they could hurt us if they wanted to. They have the power to destroy anyone who threatens them, but they choose not to. That is what makes them dangerous, and that is what makes them different. Above them, the stars continue to shine. Somewhere among them, humanity had taken its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as equals. And the universe would never forget the day that Earth's fleet arrived.